So we're focusing on the elements of art, in particular line, value, and you'll see how that will lead to texture. Our goal really is by the end of tomorrow is that you've shaded 4 value bars actually, but to shade a value bar, 6 stages, 6 boxes, using line and mark making techniques. These techniques that you're going to learn, I'm hoping you're familiar with or have heard of before, pointillism or stippling, hatching, cross-hatching, scumbling, or figure eights. And the media we're going to work with is actually a white gel pen on some tonal black paper. So really, we're going to just start off doing basically what we've done before when we did a graphite tonal bar. And what I'd like you to do is with that ruler I had you grab, again, I'll have you just trace it. And I guess we traced a 7 inches, and we marked it off at the inch. And you're going to have to do that, I guess, a total of 4 times, because we're going to end up with 4 scales. What I'd like you to do is keep them relatively close together, because that will leave us some room to practice some other textures and techniques. Eventually you're going to want to before you start your project. So our next project, we'll be working with white gel pen on this black paper. So it only makes sense that we practice ahead of time. And I think that will leave you being prepared for the project once we start it. I'm just going to trace these 2 for now, and then I'm going to get started with our demonstration, so you can go ahead and do all 4. I'm doing this with a pencil actually, because I don't want to do this with a gel pen, because I don't want to see those separations. Eventually we can erase them. So number 2, HB pencil, 2H, anything that's going to be light enough that we can kind of erase these little separations. They're only there to kind of guide me so I know when to switch values, okay? All right. You can see that graphite shows up really nicely as well on the black paper, so you should be able to see it well enough. All right. Just like before, we're going to start with one box. One box is going to be completely black, okay? What we have to do now is reverse our thinking. Before, if we wanted a light value, we just left the paper. Well, now if we want a light value, we have to actually put it in. We have to do quite a bit of work. So this first one, actually I'm going to hold mine this way, I think would be a little better. I'm going to just do hatching, okay? So the first one will probably be the one that takes the most work, because we're going to have to layer these little hatches in here until we get almost a pure white. I'm going to only just do half my bar today, I think, just otherwise you'll be watching me for a while here. So hatches are relatively short segments that go relatively the same direction, and they just overlap each other. The more densely packed, the more overlap, the darker, or in this case, the lighter the value. When I hit my little separation there, now I'm going to be thinking, okay, well, I'm going to start to, lighten these up or darken them. And I'm just going to put more space in between. So I need to let a little of that black paper show through. That's how I'm going to get a gray. So for some of you, this is sort of a mental switch. Some of you will find that you do a better job of this than you do shading on white paper, letting the white show through. But this is kind of a reversal of what we typically have been doing and what you're probably most familiar with. So this is more similar to like scratchboard, if you've ever done that. But I love these white gel pens. They do a really good job, especially on this deep black paper. It's a cold press smooth paper for you guys, or a hot press paper, so there's no texture or no tooth. Really smooth. It'll take these lines really well. You're going to have to go back to smooth your transitions. Maybe I'll make my white even whiter. So it's one of these things, if you want the gradations, just like it was with pencil, you might have to go back, blur your eye, and really smooth out these transitions. I'm hoping that some of these techniques are already familiar to you, so it's just a switch of using a different type of pen and paper today. So our goal then is to transition slowly to the black. And I might just actually work my way down here so I make sure that I do that. So this way, I'll assure myself that I can get to that black eventually. Fewer lines, fewer overlap, less dense, shorter, And I think I'm starting to get there. I'm rushing because I don't want you to have to sit and watch me draw all morning here, but I think you're starting to see what's happening. And we're going to get all the way down to that black. The next one I want you to try today is actually one that'll go a little quicker. So today we'll do one slow one fast one. So this is going to be our hatching. The next one I'm going to show you is called Scumbling or figure eights. So with this one, what I'd like you to do is you're just going to be kind of scribbling. Some of my students are more successful if they do like the number 8. So it's kind of like this. You know, that number 8 that just kind of goes over and over and over. It's tangling lines together is essentially what that is. And when you're up in this beginning box, again, you're going to tangle these lines much more densely. Your figure eights or your scribbles will be much smaller until we achieve our white. And then as we get down here, the eights will start to get larger, more gap in between, revealing more of that black paper. Again, I'm just going to do half my bar here, and I'll try to make it so you can see all of it, and I'm almost done here. I noticed with the gel pen too, and even with ballpoint pens, they're so wonderful because you can actually use the pressure of your hand too. So you'd think that you could really only achieve one type of value with a line, but if you kind of put lighter pressure, you can actually, with this technique, really start to control your values much better. This one people tend to rush on, they get sloppy with it, but if you go back and rework it, this one can actually be a wonderful texture for like rock or bark. So you see how we're using line to create the element of value, shading from light to dark, but these are also very textural, and that's what our next project will really involve. Okay, so we're going to practice today on 2 scales, then tomorrow on 2 scales. Take your time, really do a decent job trying to transition from light to dark. You can label both your scales when you're done, and I'll do that as well. And get acclimated to using this white gel pen if you've never used one before.